Oh, it's donkey time. It's donkey time.
Mule and donkey time. Jess is sounding the alarm.
Yep.
Let the people know it's Mule and Donkey time. My name's Dave. This is Steve Edwards. Every week we get together on Tuesday to talk mules and donkeys. And Jess, the border collie, if you hear that barking, you know it's time to start talking mules and donkeys. We're going to be your tour guides into the ultimate equine theme park of mules and donkeys for the next 60 minutes. I hope you enjoy your stay. But before we get started, Steve, how things been going the last week since we talked?
Well, been doing good. If we just gets nice to cool down, it'd be nice to have some rain. But it's been pretty awesome. I've been visiting with quite a few people that are excited about this webinar coming up. I unfortunately, I've only got horses that I can show you what the ultimate of equitation looks like, but I can also give you the basics. We're going to show you some different pictures of some mules and where to place your legs and things like this. But people are really excited about that, so I'm looking forward to that. But other than that, hey, the United States has a new president. We're going to have a new Senate, a new Congress, and most of all, I want God to have the glory because He's the man. You know, isn't that something, Dave? How they say, they're looking for the perfect mate, or the perfect president, or the perfect boss, or the perfect family, and none of them exist. You take King David; he was anything at all but perfect. But look, God called him the apple of His eye, and look what he did for his country. And Trump, yeah, he's he's just a New Yorker, kind of unique, and I know you New Yorkers are going to get after me, but here's the deal. A leader is a leader. You either lead or get out of the way, and a leader has good people behind him. And I think we're going to see some awesome things with some of the up and coming people we have. Now I know y'all don't want to hear about all this, all that government and this sort of thing, but listen, without a good government, we don't have a good country. So God bless America.
Awesome. God bless America, because America is where the donkeys are roaming free as well. We want that's what I love about this program, Steve, is that so much of what we hear is folks who take what they've heard about horses and try to apply it to all these different animals. And the truth is, and maybe even what they've thought about cats and dogs and, these domesticated in-home houses. But the truth is that the mule and the donkey are completely unique. God showcases His creation, the variety in what He can do. And if you just take what works for something else and try to apply it, you're going to get what a lot of people have gotten, and that is disappointed. And we don't want you to be disappointed. We want you to experience the beauty of what God has created, and that goes right into the mule and the donkey as well. I remember we were doing a clinic out there on your ranch about 6 years ago, and someone sat down next to me, and he was talking about how he had bought his first mule, and he goes, "I'll tell you what, it's like a Cadillac." He's like, "Once I rode that mule, I was like, I'm never going back to a horse." And he had thought that they were just the same, but they're not.
Yep.
And so we talk about those differences. And I do want to let y'all know right off the bat that this is a pre-recorded session. Now, I've got something very exciting that I am a part of right now at this point in time when you're watching this live. I am a part of a group that has gathered about 14 pastors, preachers from all across the United States, and they're all coming in to Mesa, Arizona, to my church, and I'm spending 2 days with them. They're doing some coaching groups so they can go back and they can do a better job of reaching their city for Jesus. So that's what I'm a part of right now. And I told Steve, hey, I'd love to do a program pre-recorded. So we are Monday, November 11th. You're watching this Tuesday, November 12th. And I want to tell you that Wednesday, November 13th, is the equitation webinar that Steve was talking about. It is free, absolutely free, 100% free. But you do have to sign up. If you are not signed up, you're not going to get the invite to come and watch the webinar. 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. So in the description of the video here, You can find the link to register, or you can just go to muleranch.com, and at the very top of the page, it gives you instructions for registering. So we would love to have you there. It is going to be all about mule and donkey equitation. And the thing that I'm excited about is I asked Steve, will you do this clinic for me? And we'll let other people come in and watch and ask their questions too. So I'm excited because this was a personal mule guy request, and I'm excited to learn everything that I thought I knew about equitation. So Steve, I want to get right into some of the questions that I have that I've gone through and put together, found online, and then folks have sent in. The first question for today is, what is the difference between a horse foot, donkey foot, and a mule foot?
Okay. Here's three fingers. The first thing I want to say is there is no difference between horse, mule, and donkey when it comes to the overall what the foot is. Here's the outside wall, the lamina, and then the coffin bone, the actual foot of the animal. The outside of the hoof wall protects this coffin bone. And then in between the lamina, that's like a shock absorber that helps protect the coffin bone. We want the coffin bone to be setting correctly, about like this, okay? And it depends on the slope of the shoulder. Now, here's when it comes down to what is the major difference between horse, mule, and donkey. With the mule, the difference is this. That hoof is about half the size it should be under the weight that it's carrying. Now, you take 1,000-pound horse would probably carry a number 1 shoe, pretty good size shoe. 1,000-pound mule would probably carry a triple aught or maybe a double aught. Double aught in the front, triple aught in the back is a possibility, okay? Now, usually your front foot on any equine is a little bit bigger than the back foot, all right? Now, here's the problem when it comes down to mules. With having the donkey foot, it is very weak in the quarters, which means this. Here's looking at the hoof on the side. Here's the back, here's the leg coming up, okay? And the leg coming up. Now, when it comes down to that hoof, the hoof itself is going to be the front part of it's going to be kind of like at an angle like this. And that's going to depend on the slope of the shoulder, which is the angle the foot sets on. Now, the major difference is this. As you come around from the front to the rear, right here, what's called the quarters of the foot. That is the weakest part because it's the weakest part on the donkey. Then from the quarters back, what happens is the back of that foot comes in like this, and it gets contracted. When it goes from being this wide to being this wide, now the frog is now smaller. What's the purpose of the frog? To help the leg get blood up and down the leg. That's the purpose of that frog. Every time it hits the ground, it's like a pump, pumping up and down. When that frog is hard and small, it cannot pump blood near as much in there. Then you're a lot more open to a lot more disease and leg and bone problems. So 99.9% of the mules out there, unfortunately, well, probably 90%. Let's give them 90%. Out there, the foot has some type of contraction. In other words, the back of the foot is coming in. Now, don't get me wrong. Horses can get contracted heels as well, but they're not as apt to because they don't have that donkey outside shell, that hoof wall, okay? So that's the major difference, is they get contracted, And yes, natural shoeing, they call it natural shoeing. You ought to see some of the donkeys that I've seen out there, how crippled they are, and how they look like they have pixie feet, with the foot coming up. It's horrible, okay? And we've actually had to take chainsaws and cut the front of the foot off, front of the hoof off, in order for the animal to walk decent, okay? So, don't give me this thing that the natural, the horses and mules out there, you ought to see them. They're flat crippled up. And if it wasn't for the state and the BLM, them horses would be a lot worse. And they're not wild horses anyway. They're just animals that got turned loose, and then they became what they are now, okay? They're not wild horses at all. Next.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Next question. This one comes in from Audrey, and she says, thank you for the opportunity to learn more about my mule. I have a mini mule that is ground trained to drive. She is ready for the next step, but I'm not sure what that is. A harness and cart? Do you have any video training on this subject? Thank you, and I appreciate it. So I think her question is kind of two-part. One, what should I do next? And two, what training videos should I watch?
Okay, we do have a video where we're training. Actually, it's a donkey, and it's going to be the same process as we do the mule. We do have some others on mules as well, but the dragging a tire and is really important, and you can do that, and then you can put a piece of plywood on the tire and stand on the tire, and this sort of thing is some things you can do. I also, when I hook up my mule or my donkey to my cart, I walk behind the cart as I'm driving. I don't get inside on my first few drives. I do everything 3, 6, 9, 12. Okay, and so I've done it. So I drive with a cart with me not in it 3 times around, 3 times to the right, 3 times to the left. Then the next time I do 6 times, 6 to the right, 6 to the left. The next time I do it, it goes on from there up to 12. So, but now I want to tell you this. The easiest way to get hurt on an equine is to be in a wagon, in a cart. You can get yourself hurt worse, because you get tangled up in that cart. I can tell you some awful stories. All right. Now, one of the number one things that I do when it comes to training one for driving, I do not start them with blinders, and I rarely use blinders with them. Rarely. Okay. And when do I do that? Okay. When I go to a show, because then show rules say that, okay, we're going to have blinders in order to go by the rules. When I start colts next to my Shire mules, sure, they had blinders, but they knew what was going on all the time. I mean, they were in there, they were with me all the way into their late 20s. And, but I put that on there, the blinders on them. I took them off at times. I went both ways. I found that my mules did just as good, if not better, without the blinders. That way they could see a full 360. So the video I would suggest is called Communicating Through the Lines. That's one of them. Basic Driving is another. And we got another one. I can't think of the name of the third one. But those two will get you started.
There's Foundations of Driving, First Drive, and Communicating from the Lines.
There we are. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Audrey. Appreciate that. This next question comes in from Alexa from Austria, which means we've gone international. I want to start jumping with my mule. Which saddle do you use? Do you have a saddle for hunter jumping? So I know what jumping is, but is hunter jumping just like normal jumping, or is that like a special technique or something?
Well, it's actually hunter jumping is actually the equitation, okay, of actually going out and hunting foxes on a fox hunt. So therefore they call it hunter jumper, because when you go on a fox hunt, you go out there, you're jumping over top of fences, you're jumping over top of deadfalls, and you're chasing hounds that are chasing a fox. And it's all part of fun, so to speak, especially for the elite that done it. So I have not been able to rightly develop, and I've spent a lot of time and a lot of money trying to do it, a hunter, a English type saddle, okay, which is basically no horn on it. It's just a pad. There's not much to it. Probably weighs, anywhere from 6 to 10 pounds, depending on the type of saddle. Now, why wasn't I able to do that? Because that saddle depends upon the front cinch. And I have been appalled at watching people that are riding English saddle with no rear cinch and the saddle sitting on top of the scapula. And the mule is doing its best to try to get through. He's elevated his head so he looks like a giraffe. And of course, the rider don't think nothing about it because, hey, we're doing a jumper. No. Unfortunately, the mule pays the price because most riders do not feel a mule. They don't understand them, okay? A mule braces against pain, braces against pressure, and this sort of thing. So to answer your question, she's, by the way, Dave, she's got my saddles and this sort of thing in Austria. You can use my same saddle doing that stuff, but here's my suggestion, folks. I know it's fun to do jumping and stuff, but how many jumpers do you see make it past 10 years old? Not too many of them. Why is that? Because they get crippled. All that weight of that hunter jumper jumping over top of those different jumps, they're crippled up. Now, yeah, there's a few animals out there that make it a little bit longer in age, but you're trail riding, and that trail riding depends upon their legs being right, and you cannot have them right when they're jumping. Okay, I've yet to see it. You'll see them tape them up and do all kinds of stuff, but it's not what I would prefer to see an equine doing.
Awesome. Thanks for the question, Alexa. I appreciate it. The next question, let's see here. This one comes in from Malka. For reasons I cannot explain, mules and donkeys, catching your eye, have a way of doing that. I've been fascinated by these fabulous donkeys for quite some time now, and I'm beginning to explore adoption possibilities for the future. What should I know about adopting a donkey or a mule? Is there costs or nutritional needs or appropriate shelter, exercises, socialization, health concern, anything else you'd like to add? I would never rush a decision and want to go through a thorough research so that I can be adequately prepared to bring one or more of these magnificent animals into my life. Thank you. So the first thing, Malka, is you're in the right place. You're asking questions, and you have a lot of questions. So take in as much information as possible. Show up to these programs every Tuesday. Sign up for the free webinars that we do. You heard me. Sign up for those. Be a part of what we're doing here. Steve, for someone who's got an interest, is there anything in particular that you would say other than take in information to Malka?
Malka, education is going to be your number one thing. And one of my favorite sayings is this: if what I'm telling you is not working for you, don't use it. All right. I've been doing this for the best part of my life, over 50 years, being around mules and donkeys. And I cannot believe some of the things that I am hearing and seeing on the internet. Don't listen to some of this stuff. You hear some of these people say they've got 2 or 3 donkeys, or maybe they're doing a donkey rescue or something, and they believe this, that, and the other. Well, there's so many things that I can go over with you. I don't have the time to go over with you, especially in this program. But go on my website, read things, talk to people. Whatever you hear me say, mule, use it, apply it to the donkey. Apply it to the donkey. When people tell you got to have a pasture mate out there, well, the problem with the pasture mate is this. Like I was talking to a lady the other day. I got a goat for a pasture pet, Steve, and now I can't go nowhere without that goat. That mule will not leave without that goat. So there, she's messed up, okay? They don't need anything but you. They need you to be the herd leader. And when it comes to feed is extremely important. I've got some programs on that. So here's the thing. Don't put yourself, which is human, into that donkey, which is not human. All right. Learn about that donkey. It's an equine. It is an animal, and they're completely different compared to you, the predator. They're the prey. So go get yourself some education, and we got a lot of free education here at the Equine.
So, Steve, when you say that folks aren't able to go anywhere without the goat, are you saying that? Are you saying that like the donkey will just refuse to go, or the donkey will act up, or what winds up happening that prevents them from that you say they can't go anywhere without it? What's the behavior that happens?
All the above. Okay, here's the deal. Soon as you put a halter on that donkey, you are now communicating with that donkey. He understands comfortable, uncomfortable. He understands ask, tell, demand. You learn those 5 steps, and those 5 steps will help you be the greatest communicator in the world when it comes to mules and donkeys. Here's what happens. I put my come along on him. All right, let's just do what most people do. They put the halter on, and as soon as they go, the split second they start to say, we're going to go, all of a sudden, that donkey kind of stops and hesitates. And you're thinking, well, come on, I want to go out and go for a walk, or I want to go out in the cart. And you pull harder. And the donkey braces you some more. Well, gee, you've gone with me before. What's going on? What's the deal? Okay. Well, if you go ahead and open up the gate and let the goat go with you, now the donkey goes. Now the horse goes. But see, it's the split second you go to lift up on that halter, you will feel that donkey, that mule saying, I'm not going without my buddy. All right. Of course, that's where the come along hitch is. Yes, the come along hitch will help you. And yes, you can get the donkey away from the goat, the Shetland pony, the other donkey, the other mule, whatever it may be, whoever the pasture mate is, quote, okay? I can tell you that I've seen it time and time again. I've seen it with my own personal mules and this sort of thing. You are not going to change an equine's mind. That's what the Lord put on them, because when they, with another equine or with another animal like that, they feel more secure than they do with you, the predator, leaving that corral. So, Dave, it's just as soon as they pick up on the halter, they're going to find that unless the goat goes with me, I'm going to refuse.
That makes a lot of sense. And what you said there, you can feel it right away. And I know what you're talking about. Like, even though you could just sense it, you just know, what's about to happen, or that they're hesitant, you can feel it. And I think one of the things that has helped me in that, and Steve, I know that a donkey is not a dog. I know that a mule is not a dog, but I will tell you, everything that we have talked about here, everything that we've learned about timing, because with the dog, the timing is important, because they can't associate something that happens now with now, right? It needs to be immediate. And so I'm walking this little multi-poo or whatever we've got, and I'm this big, it's that big. Every day we're going out, and this multi-poo wants to just pull off. And I have, the second that I feel it in the leash, I have to, and I don't pull, even though I could win in that. She's not, a 900-pound mule, but I could win that. But I ask, and I first ask, and I real quick tug on that, and she backs up and she heels right next to me and walks. And then if she does it again, I tell. And then if she still won't listen, I demand, and she does not like it, but she starts to pay attention. And it's that timing that now, when I can tell right away when she's not going to do something that I want her to do, because my timing is so quick, I can tell the split second that I'm not getting the reaction that I want. So I know that my little thing here is not a donkey. It's not a mule. But that animal instinct of they have no discipline, so that's one of the things that makes us different than animals, right? God gave us the ability to have restraint and discipline, whereas the animal is instinctual. It just goes with its instincts no matter what might happen. That's a big difference between us and animal, is we have the ability to curtail our instincts and to discipline them and put them under control. But this program has helped me so much with that when you said you'll just know, I know exactly what you're talking about because of the timing and just knowing that I'm not getting the reaction that I'm supposed to get. So I appreciate that. That makes a lot of sense. This one's pretty cool. This one is from MK. This is from AT. How difficult is the mule ride down to Phantom Ranch? I won the lottery for a group of 10 for 2 nights. Me and my partner are super excited. We're big hikers, and the Grand Canyon has been a dream of ours. We're contemplating using our lottery win as a family outing in lieu of a wedding with just our siblings and parents and cake brought through duffel service. Not all of our family is in peak condition, though. 85% of us are in good shape and can make the hike. However, my partner's parents are in their late 60s, not overweight by any means, but the jury is out on whether they could make the hike. Let's see here. Could the drag service mule ride work for them as an easier option? I've been reading it can be uncomfortable. What kind of discomfort? Is there a way to train for the mule service? Any feedback is greatly appreciated. I thought this was a pretty cool question, Steve, and I wanted to hear what you had to say.
That's great. They do have a duffel service, they call it, where they got a big duffel bag, and whatever you want to put in that duffel bag, they'll put it on the mule and they'll take it down for you and they'll take it back up for you, which is nice, okay? But I can tell you that really all you need is an excellent pair of shoes, an awesome pair of socks. You need good socks, okay, really important. And then depending on the time of the year, the type of dress, okay? I can tell you that I have had the weather change there at the Grand Canyon within minutes. It's amazing. We always try to get a weather report ahead of time so we get an idea, but the canyon makes its own weather, which you'll find out, and it can be a booger. So here's the deal. When it comes to these mules, they are extremely awesome riding, very comfortable compared to a horse, but it's going to take, you're going to have to be exercising, okay? Abdominal is really important, so your stomach muscles are really good to have, really good shape. And I would suggest walking. If you can just, simple walking, maybe 3 to 5 miles a day to start getting your exercising going. The big problem that we have with riders is you are sitting still for long lengths of time. Now, there are places that you can get off, go to the bathroom, cinch up 1, cinch up 2, things like this, and water stations, which they never had back in the 80s and 90s when I was there. All right, now, let's go back. If it was me, I ain't gonna hike that thing. I mean, you're welcome to do it, but I'd rather go on mule. And I've seen a lot of people really in bad condition that thought they were in good condition trying to come up out of there. Especially, I don't know what time of the year you're going. My favorite time of the year would be October and November. That's my personal time of the year. It's cooler. There's a whole lot less people and this sort of thing. But 3 to 5 miles a day hiking would be good. If you could do that, 3 to 5 days a week would be great. Remember, here's the deal. When you start getting sore in your back, and this is good for all of you riders, when your legs are starting to bother you, your lower back's starting to bother you, and this sort of thing, lengthen your stirrups or shorten your stirrups, okay? One of the two, because when you change the length of your stirrups, you will take a lot of pressure off of different parts of your body. Now, here's the next thing, okay? Heels down, toes up. It's extremely important. Most riders, because they don't have a good abdomen and they're fat like me, all right, is that you start getting a little lax and your toes start going down, your heels start coming up, okay, and you start getting lower back problems or sometimes knee problems. So anyway, if it was me, I'd be riding down that trip up is a booger. And yes, you can walk down and ride a mule up. It gets to be a little pricey, but you can do it. But it's cheaper than a helicopter ride, which is around $1,500 on the leased outside, depending on how you're being air vac.
What you said there about walking, I'll tell you what, I needed something to stay in shape. I've tried the gym. I don't like that. I've tried to do sports. It's hard to find someone to play with, and it's not really fun for me to just go out there and shoot hoops by myself. Just hard to get the motivation. So for the last several years, I've been walking every morning. I take a break during the summer because it's just too hot here in Arizona. You know, we had like, I don't know, 30 plus days last summer, over 115, and it was just terrible. It was so hot. But I just started again this September, and Steve, my belt came down one notch, and I'm celebrating, and I'm losing a little bit right here, and I'm feeling good about that. But most of all, I just feel better overall each and every day. I was not feeling great when I woke up the last couple days, just congested, and I got out and I walked, and by the time I was done with my walk, my sinuses had cleared up. So I'll tell you what, you think, oh, you know, walk 3 to 5 miles a day. It really doesn't take that long. I do about two and a quarter miles, and it takes me about 35 to 45 minutes, depending on my pace. So if you're walking an hour a day, man, I'll tell you what, it's really become my prayer time, Steve. The first half is just my prayer time and just listening to the Lord and talking to the Lord. And then the second half is thinking about my day. So thanks for that question, though. That was real cool talking about Phantom Ranch. The next one, this one is all about braying. This one comes in from AJ. I have never heard my mini donkey bray. He does make some noise, but it sounds like wheezing, clearly intentionally, though. Does he have a quiet bray, or is it possible that I got a donkey who had been injured?
Well, I mean, who knows? I've had some donkeys that would just drive you bonkers if you didn't feed them by 9 o'clock in the morning. Just, oh man, like that, just crazy. And I had some others that go, mules especially. So I don't think you got a problem. I just think you're blessed with having a quiet donkey, because I'm going to tell you, they can flat get under your hide.
You're blessed with a quiet donkey. That's funny right there. Steve, something that I wanted to bring up, and I don't necessarily have like a nice smooth segmentation, but I wanted to bring it up because I know it's been something you've been talking about. Several weeks ago, Leslie reached out to us, and she was talking about a clinic that she attended. And you want to give just a real quick summary of what she was reaching out about, and then I'm just curious, what new thoughts have you got? It's really about folks who are trying to push you through a particular thing that they say, this is how I do it, rather than training towards the. Would you kind of give us a little bit of an update there, Steve? What were we talking about, and what are your thoughts thereafter? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Sure. Well, Leslie, yeah, she went to a clinic. She called me first and wanted to get an idea and this sort of thing. And I told her, here, what you need to do is the clinics should be designed for you and your mule or your donkey. But unfortunately, you have ones that are, the question she asked me, what's the difference between mulemanship and horsemanship? And this person had like 5 steps that they have and this sort of thing. And what are the 5 steps? And I have no idea. I don't teach like everybody else does. So I don't have 5 steps. Would you write a worksheet so that we can have daily lessons? There again, it's very basic. If your animal, is there, then the videos that I have on doing ground communication and then single work and this sort of thing, but they're going to act a little bit different with you compared to me, or with you compared to somebody else. So you can't really lay out a lesson plan it's going to be done like this. You need to do it like this, because it doesn't happen that way. Okay. The mules, the donkeys, and this sort of thing are all going to react according to their atmosphere that's going on, according to your ability to communicate and how you're able to communicate. And what I mean by that is this: your timing is extremely important. Your timing may not be as good as another person, or your timing may be better than another person. So there it goes again. That's why I never set up and say, we are going to train to these 5 things. No, my idea is to help you and help your mule. And my idea is this: first, we want to get our communication tools lined up. What are they? They are your way to lead from the ground. They are the way to communicate from the saddle. And we've got those 2 things, ground and saddle. So on the ground, you're going to learn to use a come-along hitch and a rope halter. In the saddle, you're going to learn how to use when you're riding, you're going to learn how to use your voice, hands, legs, and seat. You're going to be using a bit. I will tell you what type of bit I would suggest. You're welcome to use your bit, and as long as you are getting things done correctly, good. But if not, try mine, which 99.9% of the time, everybody used my bits, okay? Saddle. Where to place the saddle? Because we want our animal to be comfortable. If the saddle is in the right place, the breeching's in the right place, everything's adjusted correctly, our animal is going to be happy, okay? Now, that's the animal. First thing I do as a trainer is I first make sure all your tack is lined up correctly. And I can give you an idea. If you think I'm picky, you take Al Dunning. Al Dunning is a 28-time world reining champion. He literally wrote the books when it comes down to quarter horse training. If you come into one of his clinics with the snap on the rein, he'll tell you to go out of the clinic, remove the snaps, and then come back. Okay? And it's just that important. Okay? Just something simple as a snap on the bit. Now, once I got my mule squared away with the proper attack and bits and this sort of thing, then I work with you. I show you how to use your hands, how to roll your wrist, how to move your body squared, how not to look down, how to look up, okay? I teach you how to communicate using your body. That's important. Once I got those 2 together and got that where it needs to be, then I put the 2 of you together and I let you make mistakes. Well, wait a minute. What do you mean make mistakes, Steve? I'm there to learn. No, you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to make a lot of them. I didn't get 50 years of learning and done everything just right. I made a ton of mistakes, okay? A lot of mistakes. That's how I learned I do this and I don't do that. That's how I learned it, okay? So make mistakes. So in other words, what I would do is I would say to all 10 of the people in my clinics, and I usually had 10 at an average, 12 would be maximum, okay? I want to be able to make sure each one of you gets my undivided attention. I want to make sure that each one of your mules gets my undivided attention, okay? Now, as I'm walking around, I'm going to tell you, I want each one of you to teach your mule to go clockwise with the come-along rope and to go counterclockwise with the come-along rope. And everybody's all done. I say, all right, when you're done, then move back out of the way and stand still and quiet. That's it, okay? Then once everybody does that and everybody stands still and quiet, I bring you one at a time in and I say, okay, show me how you're doing. I already know how you're doing because I've been watching you, but now I want everybody else to see that you make mistakes and here's how to fix it. Because by your mistakes, the other 9 people are going to learn. So that's the way I teach, okay? And that's the first day. I break it up into a couple hours of you and your mule training. I break it up into a couple hours of me and you working together with each individual ones. And I work on your questions. I tell each one of you, this is really important. Give me 3 things I can help you with. 3 things. And I will work on getting those 3 things accomplished with you. So that's what I do. There's a major difference between horsemanship and mules. Different bidding on a horse, different bidding on a mule. Different way to place a halter, different place to put a halter on the horse. When it comes down to using my legs, I'm going to use my legs the same. When it comes down to side passing, turning on the forehand, turning the hindquarters, I am going to be doing my lead departures different. In other words, how we go into a right lead or a left lead. I do that way different than what you do with a horse. But anyway, that's to give you an idea. Leslie, she was quite frustrated. I told her that I knew about this particular trainer that did clinics and this sort of thing, and that you see what I do, and you see what this person's going to do, and then what you need to do is say, okay, this works for me and this doesn't. Just because you see me do it, if it don't work for you, don't mess with it. Don't do it. Okay. But I was happy to say that Leslie gave me this information, and at the very end, when she did email me back saying, I would always suggest everybody to take the advice of what you said, get some education, and then go do these clinics if they decide to do. But the problem is, most of the trainers out there are horse trainers in a mule costume. They're using the word mule so that they'll be able to get your attention. Okay, because here's one of the downsides. There's very few in the way of, quote, mule trainers, but there are hundreds of all kinds of wannabe horse trainers. Okay, that's it. That's the whole thing. So when it comes down to it, do yourself a favor. Train the mule yourself. Find what works good for you. Listen to this trainer or that trainer. And if it works with the mule, you use that. But there you go. That's a thought I got for you there, Dave.
So a lot of folks already know this, but some folks don't. Steve's given me the moniker Mule Guy, and I gladly receive it. And it's actually quite an honor because I did not grow up on the farm. I did not grow up around livestock. I've spent my life in a suburb, and I've spent my life living on suburb streets. I do think I'm streetwise, but that's another conversation. One thing that has really, and I talked about it already earlier, but one thing that has really become apparent to me is that so much of the training, watching Steve train other people, watching other people react to Steve's training and their animals, so much of it has to do with timing, and not just the timing in and of itself, but the mentality is that you're always training. This was a reality for me. You are always training. The animal is always taking in information. If you're standing there talking with somebody else, you've got the lead rope on, or you're walking around with the come along rope, and they start moving their head around, you are training them to either, one, stay straight, or you are training them to be able to move around and even get in your space. You are always training. And I think the big reveal for me was that if you focus on, number one, I'm always training, and number two, I've got to work on my timing, well, then you just apply those 2 things to whatever it is you want to train to, right? If you want to train to side pass, turn on the forehand, turn on the hindquarters, you train to those things. But the big reveal was that, hey, just make sure that you know I am always training. It's always taking in information, and I've just got to be good on my timing. And I think if that's really the mentality that you walk into that 10 by 20 or 20 by 20 stall with, anybody can ultimately train. Know what you're going to do, and then just try to make sure that you're good on your timing. And to me, Steve, you can correct me, but to me, it seems like that's just a really good place to start. Know what you want to train to, and be good on your timing, and know that they're always taking in information, right?
Absolutely. No, that's good there, Mule Guy. You hit the money right on the head. And folks, the other thing I got to share with you, my parents, I was not raised in a ranch atmosphere. My dad was in the military, and I was raised in the military. That's what I knew. Yes, sir, no, sir, things like that. We had a dog by the name of Rusty, and we went on hikes. But I knew nothing about livestock. I only knew that if a dog, he pooped and he ate. That's what I knew about him. But then as I started getting older in this sort of thing, and I started spending some time around livestock, I started seeing that was me. Okay. One of my favorite things, an old cowboy buddy of mine told me a long time ago, is a cowboy is born. He's not made. Okay. It is difficult for a lot of people to get through some of these things. Okay. You take Dave as he has picked it up really easy. That's why I kind of dubbed him the mule guy here a while back. He's been around it. He sees it. He's able to give some good information out, and that's really important. So here's the main thing that I want to point out, Dave, is this. I'm not going to be around all the time. I mean, someday the Lord's going to call me home and I'm gone. All right. Now, it's not like my other old cowboy buddies where I could call them up and I could say, man, I'm having this problem or that problem. They were able to help me on the phone, or if they were here during the wintertime, they could show me. Well, I've got a lot of videos out there, thanks to Dave, and a lot of information out there, so you can follow it. You don't need me to be able to say A, B, C, be right there with you. You can watch the simplicity of what's on YouTube, and you can get it. Okay. Now, I had people say to me, before, hey, I need that rope to do that, or I need that bit to do that. Well, you see, when I teach people the things that I do, sure, it points toward that rope and that bit, but you're welcome to try other things. If it works for you, use it. But that's the reason that this stuff was developed, because it has worked. Okay. And pretty much anybody, as like I was talking with this guy today from the landscaping business, he was listening to other people, friends of his and even family, that was telling him to do the mule like this and do the mule like that. And then all of a sudden he started saying, oh, wait a minute. And he started watching some of my videos and he tried it and it worked for him. Okay. Now that's what I'm telling you. If it works for you, use it. If it doesn't work for you, don't use it. But don't just do it one time. Oh, it didn't work, I'm done. No. Be sure to try the 3, 6, 9, 12. See how it works for you.
He said the 3, 6, 9, 12, and now there's someone out there that's going to go, what's the 3, 6, 9, 12? Go to the YouTube channel, search on the YouTube channel, 3, 6, 9, 12. You'll be able to find it there. But it's the idea that if you're going to train, you do it in a set of 3, and when they do it successfully 3 times in a row, done. Then the next time you train, and it doesn't have to be every day, and it doesn't have to be for a long time. Folks will think, oh, I need to train every day, and I got to get out there, and I got to be at least an hour every day. The animal can't take it. Their brain is the size of a walnut. And so you don't need to train more than a few times a week, and 15 to 25 minutes at a time, depending on what you're doing. But you get them to do it 3 times, 3 good times in a row. If you get it 1, you're teaching them to side pass. You get it 1, great. You get it 2, great. And then that 3rd time they don't do it, go back. And then get them to do it 1 time, good. 2 times, good. 3 times, and you're done. You're done with that for the day. And then 2 days later, maybe 3 days later, you come back out, you get them to do the 3, and then you get them to do 3 more, 6. And then at some point, though, Steve, you'll just cut. Now I'm going into it, but now at some point, if they can't do it, you just go all the way back to 3 and you kind of start over, right?
Yep. Because you got to remember, it was something that most likely you did that didn't fix the problem. We call it a hole in our training. Okay. So it's most likely something that you did, moved your hand incorrectly, moved your body incorrectly, something. Now I can also tell you that it could be atmospheric conditions as well. You get kind of a windy day, or you get a cloudy, thundery day, you're going to have a different animal. These animals don't stay the same, just like you and I don't stay the same.
Yeah, that's great. Steve, I have another question. This one has never come up. And this one, I was doing some research, and this one came up in a different forum, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. I wanted to know, what is your worldview as it pertains to euthanasia or euthanization for mules and donkeys? When would you do it? What would you be considering? Because I think we've touched on it here or there, right? If they don't have a foot, you don't have an animal, and it's. So, what would you say your kind of foul poles are for euthanizing a mule or a donkey?
Okay. Uh, let's just go to one extreme where he's 30 plus years old, pretty much lost all of his teeth. He's having a hard time chewing. They have to grind their feed as they chew in order to be able to digest it correctly, in order for their intestines and stomach and all to work correctly. Because when they get colic, it's a horrible way to die. So going back to this, when they lose all their teeth and you have to try to modify your feed, and all you're doing is stretching out the days when he's going to get colic, and you're going to end up with a big vet bill, and you're going to end up most likely with a dead mule or donkey anyway. Okay, so that time frame to where I'm seeing a big drop in weight, and I'm seeing them not eat correctly. Yes, it's time that I send them to mule and donkey heaven. All right. Another place, when they are being a detriment to people. When you get a mule and donkey that just wants to hurt you, then I'm going to put it down immediately. Okay, they're intentionally trying to bite you, intentionally trying to kick you, intentionally. Got the idea? They're wanting to hurt you. Okay, it is different, way different when it comes down to one that kind of kicks at you like he's saying, "Hey, don't get no closer." That's different. But one that spins and hits you with both hind legs, or one that is intentionally trying to bite you, I've got to draw a line and say, is my life, or is my child's life, or is my spouse's wife a life, or my friend's life worth trying to keep this mule around when he's really trying to do you harm? And that mule, and that donkey, I will draw a line to. Okay, and I will put him down. Now, I can also tell you that my mules and donkeys were like my family, close, loved them. I mean, every time one was crippled or hurt, I really felt bad because I loved them. Okay, and I really wanted to put forth the effort. And the day I had to put one down, which I've had to put a lot of my own animals down, the day I had to do it, it was painful, extremely painful. Okay. Now I know the vet can come out and he can use the euthanize and this sort of thing, and he can put them down that way. All right. And I understand that, but I can also tell you that when you're back in the wilderness and you've got no vet around to be able to do the euthanization, using a firearm is the best way for the animal. Okay. I can tell you that when it comes down to cowboy etiquette, I've had a few old cowboy buddies in my lifetime that said, "Steve, would you take Buck up on the hill and give him his last ride up on the hill?" In other words, I led Buck up and I put him down. Okay. That was the day, especially this one particular horse I'm thinking about. He got to where he could hardly eat. He was dropping off in weight. He was laying down a lot, and it wasn't looking good for a buck. Okay. And so I did the cowboy thing, and I took him up the mountain and gave him his last ride up. Okay. Now, that's the basic ones right there. When they get to where colic can be a horrible thing, and they want from $5,000 to $10,000 to do surgery. And be honest with you, the animals that I know about personally that had that done, the surgery, the animal has never been right since. I don't know what it is. I wish I could tell you that they come out good, but they did not. End up spending $5,000-$6,000, and really what they ended up was a pasture ornament. Which, okay, if that's what you want, pasture ornament is fine. Okay, and I understand that, but I don't like to see them suffer. If they're crippled up and they can barely walk around, okay, and that you can see that their weight is starting to drop off them, and that's a key thing, folks. The stress from them being crippled or the stress from them having some kind of harmful disease can get to where it wears on them and they start dropping weight off and this sort of thing. Okay, so I'm going to tell you that it's an ugly thing to see them die, but it's an ugly thing too to see them suffer. So there it is. In my thoughts, you know, it has to be done. I'm going to do it myself. There you are.
Next question here, and this is the last one for today. Kate yesterday was reading one of the articles on our website about proper breast collar placement, and says, I have a horse, but I like the idea of a sliding breast collar. And folks, what she's talking about is instead of a fixed position breast collar where it straps in and there's no movement, there's no accommodation for the shoulders as they're walking. It's a what's the proper name for that, Steve?
My breast collar?
No, not your breast collar, but what most people use, where they clips in.
Oh, yeah, they pulling collar.
Pulling collar, yes. As opposed to that, Steve's, rather than clipping onto the saddle, there is a pommel strap that goes around the pommel through a little gap underneath, and then you slide the breast collar through that. And so as the animal walks, the breast collar is allowed to move back and forth to accommodate the movement of the shoulders. So that's what she's talking about. And she wants to know, would this be okay? This sliding breast collar be okay for a horse?
I know I got several clients that are now using my breast collars and say, wow, what a difference in my saddle placement and how much more comfortable my horse is, because it follows the slope of the shoulder. And that's really important. Where otherwise, if you look at these breast collars, a lot of these are too low on the breast, and they end up pulling the saddle forward, or they end up making the horse very uncomfortable. So yes, you can use it on your horse. It's no problem at all.
Awesome. And Steve, that's it for today. We got through everything. Folks, thanks so much for hanging out with us. And if you made it to the end, you get an unofficial gold pin, gold badge, and you get to hear me invite you one more time to the Equine, or to the Equitation webinar that we are doing, Mule and Donkey Equitation, on Wednesday, November 13th, and that's 2024. Now, if you're watching this sometime in the future and you're like, I want to get that, how do I get a hold of that? Go to muleranch.com, sign up for a free account, and you will find all sorts of beautiful, wonderful, magnificent free videos inside of your muleranch.com account. You don't even have to place an order. Just go to muleranch.com, click on the My Account section, sign up for an account, and if you already have an account, once you log in, you'll see a video library with just wonderful titles in there that you can watch at your leisure, 100% free. Steve, anything you want to say before we're all done today?
No, I got it, partner. Just keep praying for this United States, praying for our leaders. That's really important. Today is Veterans Day, all right, on a Monday. And be sure to thank your veterans, shake their hands, whatever. Let them know that you appreciate that they have put forth the effort to guard this country, and that United States means enough that they would give their life for that flag.
Awesome. God bless everyone. Take care, and we will see you on Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. Bye-bye.